Okay, folks, well, we're going to go ahead and set up a external database using Amazon RDS for our Black Duck software powered by Synopsys Hub install. Now, we've already documented this on our GitHub wiki, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of walk through it in a video. It's pretty straightforward, and hopefully it'll make it a little bit easier for folks to consume. So we're going to go ahead and use Amazon Aurora. We could definitely use just Postgre here if we wanted to, but there's a few things I think we get for free with Postgres on Amazon Aurora that are pretty cool, right? And so we're going to get things like 3x throughput of your standard Postgre. We could do all this replication. One of the cool things that I really like is, and it's maybe more for my own internal use, is I like to be able to clone these databases when I've got some nice data in it, and maybe data in the database, and I want to go ahead and share it with other people for their own testing, or maybe I find a problem, and I can easily just kind of hand off the database while keep my own copy around. It just makes for just a little bit more ease of use for me. So we do not want to do a multi-zone deployment. So really, we're just going to follow along, right? So we're going through the create the DB instance. We've already gone through this. We've specified the instance class we want. We're just going to give this an instance identifier of Black Duck. Why not? Our master username is Black Duck, and as you can see here, it is very critical, right? This is important. It must be Black Duck. Our password, you should use what's right for your organization. So we'll go next. We're going to go on to the advanced options here. So I just like to use these defaults. Again, use what's right for your environment. But what is critical here is public accessible. Yes, we need this to be publicly accessible so that we can contact this database from our remote hub install. It's really up to you on your availability zone. I usually put things in East 2B, just really out of habit more than anything else. We've already got an existing VPC security group that I'm going to use. Again, if you've got one or if you need to create one, you should do so. Under the cluster identifier, we have here, just let Amazon kind of create that for you. But I will give the database a name. I'm going to call this Black Duck example. Okay. Everything else I'm going to leave alone here. I'm going to leave the default ports. Again, if the default ports are not what your organization supports, you should just, make these options based on what's right for you and your organization. We're just going to go through the basics. Disable encryption. Failover. I have no preference. It's really based on your organization, your level of service that you're looking for, etc. Backup for me is fine every 7 days. Again, you may need more frequent backups. Again, we'll leave that up to you. We'll always leave the enhanced monitoring and the performance insights on, but I like to drop the granularity down to 10 seconds for my test instances. You may be more interested, even more granular, right? You should pick what's appropriate for you. Maintenance. We allow the auto update of minor versions. You should, I've not seen any problems with that. And again, it's really up to you if your organization wants to go with that setting or not. Maintenance window, again, very much a preference for each customer and user of the product, how they want to configure these additional options for your own external database. So while I launch the instance, which will take a few minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. Black Duck under example. There we go. While this instance launches, I'm going to go ahead and pause this video because this can take several minutes. So I'll be back. Okay, we're back. Database has been created. It took about 10 minutes or so. All right, so back to the wiki. So now the big thing is what we really need is this endpoint, right? So you come into your instance, you gotta get this endpoint name. It's basically a URL to connect to our database. I already have pgadmin 4 installed. I'm assuming you've gone ahead and installed it yourself. And I'm just going to go ahead and create a new server, which is basically a connection to a new server. I'm going to pop in that endpoint name. Our database is Black Duck. Our user is Black Duck. We're going to put in our password. Oh, this would be Black Duck. There we go. All right, so now we're connected to our database. It's beautiful. All right, so we've gone ahead and taken care of this section, and we're going to make some assumptions. You've already downloaded and extracted the hub orchestration files, and you've got them onto a system that is accessible to both your RDS system and also accessible to your OpenShift or CUBE environment. So in my case, I have what I call a Bastion host. I use it to both manage OpenShift environments, which are remote to the system, as well as any remote databases. So the first thing we want to do is do this Postgres init SQL for our external database. Now my system, as I said, I already have all these files here, and I've run this command recently, so I'm just going to recall it, but I'm going to need to change my endpoint name here, as well as my database name. So we'll go ahead and change the endpoint. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and change our database name. See if I can get it right this time on the first try. Enter your password, and you'll see the file executes. As you can see, if things weren't working properly, you would have not seen any of this information here that we've seen. So this is all the file and all the execution that's occurred, and we're good to go. Back to the wiki. So we don't need to worry about this because we're not migrating. We've seen the SQL execute. Now we're going to go back over here to pgadmin. I'm going to refresh my connection. And we're going to see we now have all the Black Duck users that we're expecting and which we need to submit a password for. So first we'll start with Black Duck user. We'll right click, we'll go to properties. Under definition, we're going to give this user a password. I'm going to go with this the same password that I used previously. Okay, we set it for this, and we also need to set it for this Black Duck reporter user. Okay, so we now have our password set. Now we want to go ahead back to our Linux system, whatever system you're using, right? We have back to our terminal. And we need to make some changes to some of our hub files to make sure that they can connect to your database. So we're in the OpenShift directory right now. Okay, so I've searched for capital host here. What we're looking for is this section that you can see here, right? It's called a config map. You can see in this section we've just called it Postgres. But what we need to do here, we need to add our Amazon RDS endpoint name instead. And if we made any other changes, port, for example, you're going to want to change that here. On this example, we are just using text file. We could do secrets, which we talked about in the wiki, but for ease of use, we're just going to use this YAML file today. Okay, now that we've got everything specified and saved here that we want, go ahead and save it and exit.